Okay, I want to be real with you guys. So, I think a lot of what's driving socialism is young people with a lot of education, but without a lot of life experience, being attracted to ideas that sound really good conceptually, but don't actually make sense in practical reality. And I know this because I went to Harvard and I was one of the people who was educated but not experienced and was drawn to these ideas. I wasn't necessarily a socialist, but I think it would be fair to call me someone who was on the left at the time. I was in different student clubs and organizations that, just had very good intentions, but we didn't really know that much about how the practical world works. And, I've gone through this political shift that's been from the left to more leaning to the right. And part of that political shift actually came from becoming an entrepreneur and understanding how value is created. Now, here's the reality, and this is no shade on anyone who's working a 9 to 5. You can have a very fulfilling and noble profession in a 9 to 5. But the difference between working in a 9 to 5 and working for yourself is in a 9 to 5, someone else has figured out how to make wealth, and you are now renting your time to that person in exchange for money. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people are very satisfied with a 9 to 5. But your relationship with money and the world and wealth changes dramatically when you start working for yourself. When you have to figure out how to give value to the world in a way that people will compensate you, it changes how you think about money fundamentally.
So this is a great conversation, right? Socialism sounds good until you have to pay for it, right? If you have all these people who are super educated in college, degrees, all of that, they've never experienced life. They've never really experienced have to pay for anything because typically these people are either in school because their parents is paying for school, and more than likely their government is paying for their school. So they don't understand the value of money. So when you talk about socialism, it's really people who never had to deal with money. When you look at Mamdani, Katie Wilson of Seattle, they never really had to deal with making money and giving their money away to have somebody else live because they're doing absolutely nothing with their life. You understand that socialism doesn't work. I feel like you understand it even if you got a 9 to 5, but you really understand it when you're building a business, when you're an entrepreneur, because you understand it's a lot of work to create this value, to sell a product, to sell a service and make money and run a business. So now you want to punish me and my hard work and give my money to somebody who doesn't want to work hard. When you enter money into the equation with socialism, that's where people see that it doesn't work. That's where people start getting jealous. When you don't have money, you're all for socialism. I don't have any money. I don't want to work hard. Yeah, give me everything that I need and have them pay for it because they're the one that got all the money. But the thing is, though, they have all the money because they're working, right? Socialists, and then it eventually turns into communists, right? It supports people who don't want to do anything. But what people don't understand about that is the people who's in charge, the government, is the one that gets all the money and gives them peanuts. Look at Cuba, look at Venezuela, look at USSR, Greece. There's plenty of examples. And the one thing that irritates me about the educated people, why don't they do their research on how socialism failed? Why don't they talk about that it never worked and why it never worked? Why doesn't socialism work? It doesn't work because it runs out of money. Because what happens if a person is working hard and you're taxing me more to give money to the person that's not working hard? What do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to quit too. He got more than me and they don't work, and I have less than this person and I work and bust my butt. So what eventually happens? People stop working. So as people stop working, that means less tax dollars, less people getting employed, businesses shut down. Now the government has to carry more of a burden. And then eventually what happens? They run out of money because once the corporations leave, now you have people not paying their taxes or don't have taxes. Now you have corporations not contributing. Now you have people not contributing to society because they're broke. Now they're looking at this people and saying, you have to take care of all of us now. But it's always one of those things with socialism. It may sound good, but when you start touching money, socialism is the worst idea in the world.
Instead of having this idea that, the way that a billionaire makes a lot of money or 100 million makes a lot of money is by exploiting people, you understand, no, in a 9 to 5, you're in a linear game of wealth, right? So the way that you make more money is by giving your time to someone, and then they determine whether they're going to give you a 3% raise or a 5% raise. But that's not actually how nature works. Nature is exponential. In the real world, when you're operating in base reality, you can make high quality decisions that give you outsized returns relative to someone working in a 9 to 5. So literally, I mean, you see this these days with kids who are influencers. You have like 16-year-olds who are making $1 million a year because they had an insight about what the world wants from them, and they gave the world what they want. And the upside of that is you can make $1 million at 16, or you can become a billionaire tech founder at age 25. The downside is you take massive risk. There's massive amounts of stress. You need to become massively creative, and there's no path laid out for you. So you sacrifice security and safety and consistency that comes with a 9 to 5, but you get the opportunity for outsized returns. And I think a lot of people, they literally don't understand this. And that's what's driving a lot of this billionaires are evil and we need to redistribute the wealth ideology. And to be clear, I do think that billionaires have too much influence over politics. I think there's way too much money in our politics. I think Citizens United was a mistake. I don't think that money should be counted as speech. I think billions of dollars are outweighing the voices of millions of people. All of these are bugs that need to be fixed, and they can be fixed within the current system of capitalism. But this massive ideological shift, this extreme shift from, hey, we have some problems with capitalism, to let's try a model that hasn't worked anywhere ever, and in fact has destroyed countries, is born of inexperience.
One thing, and that's why I would never agree with tax the rich, because you don't understand that these rich people, the reason why they got rich is because they took risk. It's because they did the things that you refused to do. They sacrificed. A lot of these people that are rich now almost was bankrupt, or they were bankrupt. They had tough times, right? And that is the biggest thing that you have to understand, is that why are you punishing these people while they've already punished while they were building their empire? They did the hard work that a lot of people don't want to do. So why are you punishing them? Because they made more money? The reason why they made more money is because they worked harder and they did the things that you refused to do, right? And like he said, socialism and communism never worked anywhere. Capitalism is what makes your country better. Capitalism is what makes your city and your state better, not socialism. Socialism is the number one driver of destruction in your city, your state, or your country. Look at it. Look at some of these socialist places that we have now. Deficits, schools districts closing, schools closing, people getting laid off. Businesses leaving, corporations leaving. But then you have red states that are the opposite and they're thriving. You got to have money. People need to make money in your city and state to thrive, right? But I always feel like this. I feel like people, broke people and people who are lazy will like the idea of socialism. Rich people will never like it because they understood that I worked my butt off to get here. Nobody handed me this. And that's what you see the socialists are trying to make it seem like they just got a bunch of money and they did nothing. These people have been sacrificing for 20, 30, 40 years of their life. Why are we punishing them and when they've already gone through all of the tough things that you're refusing to do? So, it's just you only get away from socialism when you're touching money, when you're making money on your own. Like you said, a 16-year-old doing TikTok making $1 million. He doesn't believe in socialism. He believes in, I've worked hard to create this TikTok empire to make $1 million. I don't want to give my money to them. They're lazy, right? And that's why you have to understand teaching your kids what socialism is. Teaching your kids the values of hard work, rewarding your kids when they work hard, because that's what we want. We want hardworking people that can thrive in a capitalistic society because they're the one that's creating these businesses or working for a business. Even when you work for a business, you are part of capitalism, right? You're making money. You're working for a corporation, you're making some money. Do you want half of your paycheck, or you want higher property taxes so they take more money to you to give to these people who don't want to do anything with themselves? Make it make sense. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It's always gonna keep things right. Keep going. Tap into the note for the morning show. Link in the show description below. I appreciate you guys in the mouth. I'm not African American, bro. I'm American. Temporary status shouldn't be 40 years. This is why we can't help single moms. We gotta make snitching great again. If I see a man, he don't take care of his kids, he's a bum. Unsubscribe. I'm still gonna keep going up. My issue is that you are really hard on single mothers. It will always be the woman's fault. Start snitching, y'all. I haven't seen a smart black Democrat. Let's keep it funky. Why was the woman created? It's called a no filter morning show. It's straight like that.